Hi, I'm Mika, and I'm feeling utterly aghast.
Hi, I'm Becca, and I am already embarrassed.
And this is All You Can Feel, your weekly fangirl fix, where we talk fandom, friendship, and fantasy today, specifically.
Yeah. Honestly, it sounds a little nightmarish.
Sure.
Especially depending on your adaptation.
Or ethnicity. Sorry.
Yes.
If we were to psychoanalyze it, and knowing us, we're going to psychoanalyze it. It's
what else are we here for?
Right,
It'd be cool to be there. Run errands. I'll go run errands. You know it definitively. I'm sorry, Lord. Oh, interesting. No, let's unpack that.
Like, I want to be rendered as a Studio Ghibli character, like in that art style, or in Anastasia's art style, or in Tangled's art style, because I don't like the way that I look.
Well, I was gonna say love it, but...
Now let's unpack that.
I don't wanna.
This episode, we're going to be talking about our dream worlds or fictional worlds that we would love to live in. Also, sorry for last week having no episode.
Yeah.
You know, going through it. So for the
life gets in the way sometimes.
Yeah. So for the foreseeable future, if for whatever reason an episode gets uploaded late or it just is not uploaded, I apologize. But I also thank you guys for your understanding. Yeah, so why don't we get into it? I'm not sure how we wanted, I was divided my lists into two. So I went with places that I thought were going to be a good idea to live in as a kid, but maybe I don't feel that same way anymore for whatever reason. Or places now that I'm like, no, I want to live here.
I don't think I have it separated in the same categories, but I like these categories. Also, before we dive into it, do you want to expand upon why you're aghast?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes, I do want to expand on why I'm aghast. So, as we may know, I am a Canadian citizen. And you know who else is a Canadian citizen?
Not me.
Shania Twain.
Yeah.
You know who really loved Shania Twain growing up? Me, but also a certain someone in this chat. And it has come to my attention as of last night that this person didn't realize that Shania Twain was Canadian during their childhood. Now, for backstory here, I was for years thinking, wow, we really are fated to be best friends because she loved Shania Twain as much as I did. And it's like we were connected through this Canadian icon. Little did I know that she thought Shania Twain was Southern.
Like from Nashville or something. All the country singers seem like they're from Nashville.
Well, maybe you should have read a book.
I was too busy listening to Shania Twain.
I sound chill right now, but last night when this news came about, I left our voice call.
She literally, exited.
I exited. Usually I'm like, haha, I'll exit and then I'll come back right in. I let it sit for a second because I was like, I can't believe this.
I laughed the entire time, by the way. Not a single second passed that I wasn't laughing, and I was like, she'll come back. She'll be back in here. We're okay. We're okay.
Healed. We healed, and now we're here. And part of this is, I guess, an exercise in healing, or just because we're two girls who love to escape reality, as you said. And so, yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see which worlds we would like to kind of find comfort in.
I did have something of an official list prepared, but I have since lost that list. What can you do? So it's mostly all up in here in my brain. We will go from there. But why don't you start us off with one of the first ones you were thinking of?
Okay. So this was listed in no particular order from my childhood, but as a child, I really wanted to live in Barbie as the Nutcracker, or Barbie in the Nutcracker. She was not the Nutcracker, notably. The Nutcracker was a very sweet, sweet young man. And that is part of why I wanted to live in that world, but also it combined two of my favorite things at the time, which was anything Christmas related and also Barbie. And so I just really enjoyed the aesthetics, the world. Now, looking back on it, the animation, not so great, but I still have a lot of nostalgia for it. It still feels textured in a way that I like, where it's just kind of soft and I don't know how to explain this, creamy almost. And I like that vibe. I kind of want to find myself in that kind of pastel situation.
Ah.
Yeah. And also there are mice, talking mice. And I wanted to be the sugar plum princess, like fairy. I wanted to be the chosen one. So, yeah.
I relate to that. I don't think Nutcracker wasn't my chosen Barbie. Rapunzel was at the time. I think that I could vibe in a Barbie world, though. Like, whether it's a fantasy world or whether it's, like, modern day Barbie Dreamhouse.
Right.
Barbie. I think that would also be fun. One of my probably bigger ones, this is one of the ones that I probably wouldn't say now, but as a child, I definitely wanted to live there. And I feel like if we can't talk about this episode without talking about it, which is Neverland from Peter Pan. I don't think I would live there now because honestly, it sounds a little nightmarish.
Sure.
Especially depending on your adaptation.
Or ethnicity. Sorry.
Yes, that is a factor. Most versions of Neverland are unwelcoming.
I would agree with that.
I really liked Hook's version, and then the 2000s Peter Pan live action, of course. Mm-hmm. I liked both of those versions of Neverland, though they are both still chaotic. Though I really loved the imaginary food thing in Hook. I think that really sold that world. It was just kind of like a you can do anything mentality, and sometimes you just want to be there. Really, Neverland for me was about not wanting to grow up.
Yeah.
If it was regardless of what Neverland looked like, if it offered that, I would have been there.
Yeah.
So that's my number one. Although I obviously am now grown up and I connect a little more with many of the hooks in the wild. So if you guys aren't engaging with alternative versions of Peter Pan, you should be.
Yes.
Usually Hook is a much more forgiving character and Peter is not. And I like that dynamic.
Yeah, I do like that too.
But yeah, so that's my first one.
The next one is kind of, I don't know, I'm kind of curious, but I also am hesitant. Justice League Unlimited.
Ooh.
I wanted to live in that world so bad. Snapper Carr, hit me up. He's the reporter voiced by what's his face? Jason Marsden. And so I really loved that world. I loved the Question and Huntress. I just wanted to be a superhero. I think realistically, I do not want to be a vigilante. I would rather be the little reporter girlfriend or a supporting character. But in hindsight, I feel like that world is just so fraught with so many major world events all the time. And so is ours. Our world is pretty looking pretty dismal too. So
where's the escape?
Yeah, it's not really an escape so much as, oh wow, they have powers, wahoo, but also the property damage, It's
that's crazy.
It's a lot. Now, I say this knowing that my present escapes, we'll get into it.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, literally this morning. Okay, so we watched X-Men today.
Yes, we did.
X-Men Evolution. We're watching through the animated series. And I am just reminded of the fact that I also would love to just be in a world of superheroes. There's something about the ability to have powers that is just so enticing, even when there's certain dangers added to the world.
Right.
I think that Justice League, when you get to a certain scale, those dangers become literally astronomical. So it's maybe not that extreme, but there's something I think reassuring about being around superheroes. Not necessarily having to have a power of my own, though that's always fun to think about. But if you were just part of the story and also protected a little by the plot.
Yeah.
You don't want to be too close to the heroes because then you might get discarded.
Exactly. Right.
But to be around it is still pretty great. So I'm with you there. Mm-hmm. I would think of for me, for a nostalgia factor in that way, it would probably be Smallville or the OG Spider-Man. Maybe not. That world is scary.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't mind hanging out with Peter.
Speaking of X-Men Evolution, it's also on my list for childhood. It's kind of, honestly, I would say that it's kind of, I would still want to live in that world.
It feels safer.
It feels safer than the live-action X-Men because they haven't reached the point of, there have been some major disasters and threats to the world.
Ooh.
Threats to the world.
Speaking of threats, welcome back.
Okay, yeah. So there has been like higher stakes in X-Men Evolution, but they're not. It doesn't feel as grandiose, and I also really love the banality of their like high school drama, like the little love triangle between Scott, Rogue, and Jean. It's so unserious, but it's so serious at the same time to me. So yeah, I also just, as a kid, really wanted my high school experience to be like that. Mostly because of Lance.
So fair.
Lance Alvers, like, he's the blueprint for me. Like, I'm realizing as we're rewatching, I'm like, oh, he's the reason why I have unhealthy taste sometimes. He was so the OG bad boy with like a golden heart. He's just, doing his best. But yeah, that's definitely up there.
Yeah, I didn't watch X-Men as a kid. Not this version. I watched the live actions, but Scott probably would have been my guy. Scott's pretty great. Watching it now, I'm like, Scott's better than I thought he was going to be, actually, and I already loved him.
Yeah, for me, it's like, oh, this is why I love Scott. I love Scott. I don't know why. I think the live action did him a discredit or disservice.
They did.
He wasn't as lovable. Like, there wasn't as much drawing me towards him. But this Scott, I'm like, oh, this is why like I really loved Cyclops as a kid. But I also watched the original like animated series too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I did care for him there. I still need to rewatch it so that I can watch X-Men 97. But yeah, I think my favorite version of Scott and Jean has to be from X-Men Evolution. But that's besides the point. I'm like
a little detour into X-Men.
Whoops.
There's some of these are a little redundant. Like if we want to go into the powers camp, I would throw in Charmed as well, which I was very much obsessed with specifically for the magic. But that would be like, you have to be a witch in that world to even care to be in there. Otherwise it's just this world. With added demons, which who wants that?
Right.
So instead we're going to shift gears. Pretty sure this might be on your list too, but I wanted to say Narnia for sure.
Okay.
You mentioned when we were brainstorming, you mentioned specifically when the Pevensies are there, and I think I agree.
Yeah.
I would like to be I would like to be there when they're ruling, chilling with like all the talking animals and trees and stuff. Like,
yeah, prior to the genocide. Yeah.
That would be the era to be, but also after the snowy hellscape.
The snowy hellscape. Yes. That's such a good one. I didn't put that on my list for some reason, but it's 100% like on the list. A little bit of Mika lore is that up until this is embarrassing actually. Up until I was 16 years old, I would have my dad and my brother play hide and seek with me just so that I could hide in the closets throughout the house on the off chance that I might stumble into Narnia. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, it was delusional.
Okay, but that's fun, and we love the imagination. Okay.
The fact that they humored me
in deep defense of you at 16 in the closet.
I was like, I just want to escape reality. I just want to go to Narnia already, specifically in the Golden Age. But also, like, I don't mind the potential of helping them during the battle against the White Witch. I don't mind that. Like,
yeah.
It can come a little earlier than the Golden Age.
Sure. Just go with the Pevensies.
I just want to go with the Pevensies, but then I also don't want to return to 1940s England.
No.
So it's like a very, very specific circumstances would I be like, yes, I want to live here.
Right.
But yeah. So this one is like the tiny people category because I really liked miniature things growing up, and I still do. But I was obsessed with the borrowers, okay? I was obsessed with the borrowers, and I just wanted to be like a tiny little borrower, just like Arietti. So I still, to this day, have a little bit of that desire to be like shrunken and tiny. I also really loved the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
I did too.
Movies. I
was thinking of them.
Now this was a very problematic, not franchise, I guess, like series, but the books and the movies, like The Indian in the Cupboard, that I also really loved. Obsessed with it. Looking back on it, yikes, but it was the idea. Like, it's just tiny people.
Coming to life.
Night at the Museum, they also fall under that category. I wanted to be a tiny little person because I'm tiny. And so I guess I just wanted, I don't know.
Plus you can escape into not being perceived as much, I feel.
That's, I think, what it is. If we were to psychoanalyze it, and knowing us, we're going to psychoanalyze it. It's
what
the
else
idea,
are we here for?
Right. It's the idea that, like, you're kind of just being left to your own devices. Like, you know, no one's going to mind you because you're just existing as a tiny little thing. What about you? Any other tiny little...
I didn't want to escape into the Indian in the cupboard situation, but I did love that movie for exactly the same reasons. Like, something about, not even just with that particular figurine, but to have a little cupboard that you could put something in and then it would come to life. The Night at the Museum energy, that. Yeah. Any world that offers that is definitely an escape, I feel. I love Night at the Museum. I wouldn't have thought of that. You did mention you liked the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids series. I also loved that one.
Yep.
I think I watched the Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves one the most. When they interact with the bugs and stuff in the house. Yeah. That's also where I learned what potassium was. If anybody wants to know, that movie is what I learned potassium was in bananas. But also, so many of these seem to have a lot of the... I'm not surprised. A lot of the whimsy that we both like, and having the magical elements. It doesn't have to be super magical. Narnia is pretty high fantasy in that way. Yeah. But I think that we just want to have a little freedom with abilities, maybe. Speaking of fantasy, I'm completely diving into a world. The last big one I have in my brain at the moment is The Two Princesses of Bamar.
Yes.
Because I had to, it's been a while since I read it, so I had to kind of revisit the wiki a little bit. But it being a sort of Middle Ages fantasy realm, standard, different creatures and magic and dragons and fairies. It's all very exciting. Really hot fairy legends, which I think lives in my brain to this day in everything that I do. Drew Alt, I love you. I am only now reading Ella Enchanted, and it of course has the same energy. And I think those are kind of the soft medieval-esque fantasy worlds, where the old princess books and stuff like that. Gail, I owe you my life.
Me too.
Where you can just disappear into that sort of realm, or the Cinderella live action, the Disney Sleeping Beauty energy, that particular art style.
That would be so cool to live in. I want to exist in that too. Yeah.
I want to look how she looked. I don't want to be subject to the pain and trauma that Aurora was subject to, but to just exist in that world. But again, stipulations, not as a serf, not as a peasant, but also not necessarily nobility, just able to live would be great. Yeah,
I don't know. I would think that even if you're a serf in that particular world, because it's Disney, you wouldn't be facing as much.
Sure, yeah, you're a little protected hardship. By the PG.
Yeah, I think you're okay. I briefly want to touch on two, series that I thought of: Totally Spies and Martin Mystery.
True.
You mentioned earlier something about the abilities. And I think that's what that is for me. Also, just the colors. I love a world where it's just so vibrant. And it's also just ridiculous. Their devices are so on the nose. So silly, so goofy. And I kind of love that. I want to live in a world where slime scan activated,
you
when
pick up some random goo and activate your slime scan.
Or Totally Spies when they have multifunctional lipstick. To me,
compacts and stuff.
That's the dream right there. And then for other escaping into not fantastical worlds, but just a world, I really wanted to live in Pride and Prejudice. I don't know if you guys know that. I don't know if you guys know that I kind of like Pride and Prejudice. But
just a little bit. Cue montage.
I'm literally resting my laptop on a copy of Pride and Prejudice right now.
The actual book.
Yeah. And there was a show back in the day, Lost in Austen. I didn't like the main character. Now, it's been a while. It might have been internalized misogyny. I didn't like her, but I liked the concept. Like, anything where, like, a character is, like, kind of thrown back in time. I guess Kate and Leopold also fall into this category.
Yeah.
Like, either thrown forward or backwards or whatever. Like, I just love a character out of time. See Steve Rogers. And I just love the idea of, like, connecting with someone who's not of the same time period. Now, I was doing major mental gymnastics. Call me Simone Biles, because I mean, let's be realistic. With the amount of melanin that I have and just what I look like, that would not fare well for me if I were to be transported in, like, a realistic historical 1810s, like, Regency period. That said, this is Pride and Prejudice, and I feel like you could take liberties with it. Not go, like, full Bridgerton, but I like to bend the rules in my head. Like, no, it's actually fine. Like, it'll be fine. Like, I'll make it fine somehow.
Sure.
Yeah. That's
it is a fantasy.
It's a fantasy, so I can do with it as I will. I guess, like, the circumstances for that escape would be that I would have control over the magic, in a sense, like, have some sort of say in how that would unfold. And then the last one, before I guess I can finally move on to more, like, no, I now would like to live in this.
You would want to.
I really loved Spirited Away as a kid.
Ooh.
And so I would watch it over and over again. I'm, like, looking at my Spirited Away poster right now. I really specifically wanted to live after the events of the film, like, as Chihiro, or, like, have, like, a story similar to Chihiro, and then find Haku again. It's just,
I feel that.
I just want to find the dragon again. Dragon Boy, yeah, he was kind of everything to me, and so I wanted to kind of find closure for myself, as if I was Chihiro. I'm not. That's me telling myself. It was a self-insert. But now, looking back on it, I absolutely would not want to live in that world. That is terrifying. I would not survive in it the way that she did. I don't know. I mean, I think I do have the mental fortitude now to maybe survive and get by. But as a kid, I don't know if I would have as much gumption, if you will. Oh my gosh, that's another the holiday. Ooh, okay. Ooh. But yeah, I mean, I'll move on to the actual Studio Ghibli films that I would like to live in.
Want to be in?
Yeah.
All right, this is like a subsection. Let's break it down.
Yeah. Okay, so the ones that I would want to live in now, Howl's Moving Castle. Just because again, with self-insert, I relate to Sophie so deeply. Like, yes, I love Howl, but it's the way that she sees herself. Like, when she's in that flower garden with him, and she's, like, shrinking into herself, and she's like, well, you could never be with me because, like, I'm not pretty at all. Never have I related to a character more. Doesn't matter who's telling me, like, no, you're pretty. I'm like, no, I'm going to shrink into myself and become an old lady. Like, I also have terrible posture. I'm just an old woman, as it is. So, yeah, I think I would fit in very well. I don't have hat-making abilities, but I can write, and I feel like in that specific world...
you would work.
I feel like I would find a way. I would find a way to make it work. And then the other two are Kiki's Delivery Service and Whisper of the Heart. Whisper of the Heart feels like, it's so low stakes, but I don't know how to explain it. Like, it's so comforting. I feel like in that movie's world, your dreams can come true. And
that's
also
so cute.
There's like an idyllic vibe to it that I really appreciate. Yeah. All the summer days with the cicadas in the background, like, it's just so... like, nothing is happening, but also everything is happening. And I don't know, like, I like that. Like, it feels like time really slows down and you can take in the moment. And I mean, I guess that's, like, kind of the point of Studio Ghibli films in the first place. But in that particular film, because Shizuku wants to be a writer, like, I always related to that. And I just like the idea of, like, Seiji being like, I'm gonna marry you when we're older. And
this is giving like you want to really be in the main role.
This is like a self-insert subsection. Like this is the one that I want to live in, actually.
I get it.
Yeah. And then for Kiki's Delivery Service, it's just the vibes. It's just the atmosphere, once again, super cozy, super, I feel like as a writer, again, like Ursula would probably talk some sense into me whenever I'm doubting myself and just tell me to take a break, and it would be fine. And I also like the community aspect in that movie. I don't know. I just like the neighborhood. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I'll just go ahead and throw mine out too, even though I didn't have them prepared. I already know which ones they would be. So definitely some overlap here, and you already know what mine are going to be, but Howl's Moving Castle for sure. I think that there's a certain magic in that specific world that is really comforting. And I love, like, I would love to just be a part of the house. Like, I know I'm, like, terrible at it, but, like, if I were staying there, I would, like, I don't know, clean or whatever you want me to do.
Yeah.
Whatever. It'd be cool to be there. Run errands. I'll go run errands. But, like, okay, so the thing about running errands is that I think I would have a fear that if I would leave the castle, it would leave me.
Aww.
Like, a temporariness.
Yeah.
Which, so, like, I'm sure I would just stay in there. It would be all about gaining trust, I think. There's something else in my brain that has that same energy that's, like, this fear of, like, if I were to, like, not stay, like, right in there in that particular world, that it would leave me and I would lose it. And I'm sure that's due to, like, having vivid dreams that then you wake up from and now you can never access them again.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. But Hal is definitely one of those ones. I would love to use the door that you can use to travel to different places.
Also, the food in that one is so
good. The food is so good. And Calcifer is my fave. So
yeah.
Also, Kiki's Delivery Service. I think in a similar way. I think I would want to just kind of be Kiki.
Oh, okay.
Or like be a witch in some manner in that world.
Yeah.
I think there's a coziness to it and a comfort that is always nice to return to. And the last one would be Castle in the Sky, which I think there's certain aspects of that world that I probably wouldn't necessarily care to be a part of, but like to be at Laputa and like be at the Castle in the Sky would be choice. Yeah. I just think it's so beautiful and so there's an etherealness to it that I think is really comfortable, that I think Studio Ghibli does really well in general.
I agree.
Like, I also thought of Nausicaa, and I was like, I wouldn't want to live in Nausicaa's world. Yeah. But I love the energy surrounding her as a character and like the sort of atmosphere of the world. So I don't know, if we were to be thrust suddenly into a random Studio Ghibli world, I feel like we would make our way through it.
I would find a way to survive, I think.
I feel like it might not be the safest all the time. It might be a little scary sometimes, but I feel like in general the atmosphere is okay.
Yeah. What other ones are on your radar?
There's a couple. Probably, I would say in that same vein would be like Disney movies. I was thinking, and I'm like, is there a particular one? Obviously, I already mentioned some Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, like aspects of that. I don't know that there's necessarily a particular one that I'm like super drawn to. I think that there are elements of them that I would like living in like Atlantis. Hello, I would love to be a mermaid.
Yeah.
You know? I just think, and the TV show brought out so many more little characters and so much more of the little worlds. I think it would be so nice to be a mermaid there. Like worlds like Atlantis, like the movie, would be a fun one to be a part of. Plot aside, because obviously people are like going on an expedition to this hidden world. I like Treasure Planet as well, even though that sounds dangerous.
That sounds stressful, girl. I don't know about that. Like, I love Jim,
but like I like if you lived on like the moon planet, that would be cool.
That would be cool.
I think it would probably be stressful, though, because it looks very crowded.
I was going to say, it looks very, very cramped. I don't know if I would like that.
Maybe I would want to be, like, a space sailor or something, you know? Like, but, like, I still have that image of, like, them falling into space.
Yeah.
Nightmarish. So
it's very risky.
Yeah. I also thought of, like, Inside Out. That kind of world?
I wouldn't really want to live with. I have too much. Too much.
I like the concept of it, though.
I like the concept as well.
Oh, this kind of goes in sync with the charmed / like, so you used to hide in closets to sort of manifest Narnia into existence. I would do that with charms, where I would recite the spell that they use to receive their powers over and over as I stared out the window. And I feel like in that same vein, that sort of like wanting to will something to be true is Toy Story a little bit.
Oh, okay.
I would talk to my inanimate objects, and I catch myself still sometimes doing it, where I'm like, what if though? Like, what if they are sentient though? And then you don't want to like upset them. I operated with that mentality a lot as a child.
I did the same. My brother and I, for a very long time, every time we left the room, we would think that our toys were like, just chilling or doing something of their own.
I hope so.
And then I think that's honestly why he and I had a really hard time letting go of our toys, because it was like, I don't want to. I've seen Toy Story 3. I don't know. Even before Toy Story 3, though. Even before the story of Lotso. It was like, I don't want to do that. I mean, Jessie already messed me up. How am I supposed to do that to another toy? It just doesn't feel right. Granted, a lot of my toys are gone now, so I feel bad about that. But
I know.
On the topic of Disney, Corona from Tangled.
True.
100%. The first thing I thought of when we were thinking about this episode prompt, I was like, Corona.
Corona's a good one.
I just feel like it's got sunshine, it's got a lot of art, it's got books, it's got people who have dreams, as if this world doesn't have people who have dreams, but they break out into song about it. I just love the atmosphere too, just the art
energy,
style, the energy. I love that world so much. I would pick that over Frozen. Even though
they're in the same world.
They're in the same world. Now, you and I really love Arendelle. We love Elsa and we love Anna, but I don't think I would.
Different.
The atmosphere is different, and I'm not a winter girly. I am a fall girly, fall spring girly. Corona seems like it's very like summery. That's cool. Yeah. It just doesn't seem like too humid in there, and that's what I like. I like it when summer is a little breezy, because we're by the sea. They're supposed to be somewhat in the Mediterranean, I think. I don't remember exactly. But yeah, that's the one for me for Disney. And then I also had Anastasia on there. I
thought of Anastasia.
Just the art style. I want to be rendered in that art style. Not that particular
story. That sounds terrible.
Yeah. When I was kind of brainstorming about this, I was realizing that a lot of this has to do with my facial dysmorphia, because it was like, oh, I really love the idea of escaping to animated worlds, not just because of the concept of the animated worlds themselves, but because I don't like how I look in this flesh prison.
Sure.
So I would rather be rendered in a way that feels
2D,
feels more in line with how I feel. And I think that's because I was a chronically online child, so it's like I feel 2D in a way. I feel
interesting.
flat.
No, let's unpack that.
Yeah, I feel like
2D.
I feel 2D. Like, I feel like I'm best digested as a person through a screen. But that's because that is where I found the most comfort growing up and felt the most like I could be myself, was through online worlds, and confident. Yeah. And you know that because, like, you know, we met on Guy Online. So, like, we met with when I was having like a persona. Like, the Mika that I am now is like me, but that was a persona back then because I didn't feel like I could be myself around like other people in real life. So in essence, the reason why I really love the idea of like even escaping to Studio Ghibli, most of it are for the reasons that I described earlier, but I was realizing, I was like, oh, I don't want to look how I look. Like, I want to be rendered as a Studio Ghibli character, like in that art style, or in Anastasia's art style, or in Tangled's art style, because I don't like the way that I look.
Well, I was gonna say love it, but we don't love that. But I do agree. Yeah. I understand.
You understand, like, it's not It's not the most, I mean, I think it's kind of healthy in that it's understandable. Like, you would,
sure,
but
you're able to reflect on that.
Yeah, like, I'm not, like, vying to be, I'm not hiding in closets anymore. in many ways.
Right.
In many ways. But I just, yeah, like, it's just
let's unpack that, actually.
And moving on to Into the Spider-Verse, because we're talking about animated. I want to live in that world, in Miles's universe specifically, or Gwen's, but I kind of want to live in Miles's.
Gwen's is pretty interesting.
Gwen's is, like, just so pretty, and I just love...
Miles's is a good one.
Yeah, but Miles's, I think, is, like, the best one, because everything happens to it.
Yeah.
And I just think that it's just such a fun depiction of New York. Like, that's the New York that I want to live in. Like, I really love New York, but in a specific way, in, like, the fictionalized, either a rom-com way or
I was gonna say, like, the perpetually fall New York way.
Perpetually you've got male fall New York, or just Into the Spider-Verse. Because then, if anyone can wear the mask, then surely I am also Peter Parker in some capacity. So
there's a multiverse where that's probably true.
Yeah. Just for the interest of time, I'll just start listing some.
Sure, I've got a couple too, so go ahead and list yours.
Okay, so speaking of New York and rom-coms, I had the specific just description of rom-coms where writers can make a livable wage. Because I would love to live in a world.
That's amazing.
I would love to live in a rom-com world where, like, not only do my romantic fantasies come true, but I get to just do what I love and not worry about rent and live in, like, a really nice apartment. In New York, incredible. I love that. Some specific ones that come to mind, although Jane wasn't, notably, a journalist, it was Kevin in 27 Dresses. But also The Devil Wears Prada. I wouldn't want to work for Meryl Streep in that movie in any way, but just the idea that, like, you know, she was just able to stumble into that position. Girl, I want that energy. Speaking of, like, romantic things, probably To All the Boys I've Loved Before and The Summer I Turned Pretty, because my life kind of already reflects certain events in that genre or in those stories. I want poetic justice, I think.
I love that.
Because,
also, like,
go ahead.
The Summer I Turned Pretty made me think of, like, just generally New England.
Yeah, just
Maine. That energy.
Fictional Maine.
That's where I want to be. That's where I want to live.
Fictional Maine. Yeah, no, me too.
Live there.
And I just, I want poetic justice because, like, I have a lot of history with, like, being romantic and, like, putting myself out there, and it's never really come to fruition. And so I would want to meet someone who I could go to antique events with. Looking at you, Peter Kavinsky. Like, I would want that kind of vibe. Like, ooh, let's drive at, like, 7 a.m. so that we can beat this old couple to the antique place or, like, the estate sale or whatever. And then that. Earlier you mentioned Barbie as Rapunzel. Yeah. That is the one that I would want to live in now. And I also really wanted to live in it back in the day, but it's kind of just stayed. It's been persistent. I just want that paintbrush, man. I just want that paintbrush so bad.
To do anything you can do with that. Just anything you can think of.
To be anything you can be.
Anything is possible
Barbie.
If you just believe.
Yeah. Sorry. And then the last one that I feel that you will relate to is the Netflix Marvel Cinematic Universe, aka the Defenders Saga. Now, I know what you're thinking. Hello, danger.
Didn't we say no vigilantes?
Didn't we say no vigilantes? But I wouldn't want to be a vigilante, no. I would want to simply be a supporting character. I want to be like the Foggy Nelson of this world. I want to be, I just want to be there to help in my skills of writing. I can edit badly. Me pitching myself to the fictional characters as if they're here. Okay, Matt Murdock.
Hire me.
Hi, I'm here and I have a resume for you. I sometimes video edit. I don't know if you need that for your law firm. It's more of a fan edit quality, but I feel like that could work for you guys. I feel like that could work on TikTok for you guys.
They might need it.
Yeah. And I write. So I don't know, Karen, if you ever need any help or someone to bounce ideas off of, I'm your girl. Also, a lot of this has to do with me wanting to somehow like self-insert and become a friend of particular characters, namely who I've already mentioned, but Dex. Because I want to save.
I can save him.
I can fix that man. I swear to God, I can. The worst brain rot, and I blame Lance. I blame Lance Alvers.
It all started with Lance.
If Kitty Pryde can win over Lance Alvers like that, then I can win over Dex, and I can win over Ward, and it'll be okay. Because those are the two right now that I'm like, I can fix you.
If you had the guarantee like written in, that's the thing. You mentioned rom-coms, and I'm like, there's the ideal of those kind of worlds is that
plot armor.
Would know, yes, you would know the writer will get you to where you need to go. You know it definitively. I'm sorry, Lord. You would have that control, right? You'd have that sort of understanding. And so you're like, well, I know that I'll get the love interest that I'm supposed to have. So even if you go through certain hardships as part of the rom-com way, you will get to where you want to get to.
Right.
Whether that's career-wise or romantically or with friends, which usually it's all three. So that, I think, with the Marvel universe as well, the Netflix Marvel universe, Defenders universe, is like that you would have that plot armor. You would be able to know that you're going to be saved by by your superhero best friend if something were to happen.
Yeah.
Or that you would like endure it.
Yeah.
And like there's an arc for you, I think. And there's something about having that control over your story that I think is enticing.
Now let's unpack that.
I don't wanna.
No, let's talk about it.
I don't wanna. What do you mean?
Control,
what do you mean being 32 and having nothing going on in your life? Going to school again, not having a romantic relationship. Anyway, we're not going to unpack it all. In that same vein, and probably a little bit worse, I do want to bring up the Netflix Christmas cinematic universe.
Yes, I was waiting. Yes.
Which, like, I feel like this is a big one.
I think it's the best of all of the worlds that we just talked
everything,
about.
It is truly an escape. It is, like, a specific atmosphere. I don't even like winter. But I love the
Christmas.
The Christmas, just how, like, firm that is as an atmosphere. And sort of in these movies, it's like, it doesn't even have to necessarily be Christmas. Like, there's a lot going on with the royal families and stuff in these movies. That, like, it just, the atmosphere creates this situation where things are always about bonding with each other, or like your like family, or
finding yourself.
Just like finding your identity, and there's a comfort to it. And I think to me it kind of is the same as sort of the Pride and Prejudice thing, where it's like it is in this sort of bubble. So you don't have to like worry about like, I don't know, certain real life issues that you might have. You can just like go there and exist in happy Christmas land.
Yeah, because like Christmas will fix everything.
Yes, that's what they've taught us.
Yeah.
But also I love like the absolute chaos of the world, which like, so Defenders will obviously have their little crossovers, and they tried to do it as well as they could. They didn't succeed every time. But like the Christmas universe is so chaotic in that they'll just be watching each other's movies as if they're documentaries. They're not documentaries, but they'll be watching them and like going to each other's weddings and stuff. And I'm like, what is the truth here? I want to be here. Yeah. Also, there is time travel in that one. And the night comes forward from the past.
And you can write poorly and still be paid a living wage.
And become a princess.
And become a princess in the process. It's the best of all of them.
You can be a terrible reporter or a terrible writer, and you can still get
can still succeed. And that's
so honestly
the energy we want. Yeah.
And everyone's welcome.
Exactly. You know? Oh, so true. Exactly. The magic of Christmas.
Everyone can go there. There'll probably be a doppelganger review somewhere. Because then you can trade roles whenever you don't want to do the things you need to do.
And the love interests are so ridiculously sweet that
they are. We need to revisit that.
Yeah, we need to revisit. We will be revisiting that later this year.
So when you see an episode out about the Netflix Christmas Cinematic Universe, any other thoughts? Any other worlds that you would want to escape in? Let's be fair, I do like this one. But it has a lot going on. A lot of negative things going on in this world.
Let's be clear, Lord.
Yeah, it's like just an apology to the Lord.
Now, my one note that I was talking to, because my family, we like to do a little catch-up session together every night, and so we, like, pray. The other night, I was, like, telling my parents and my brother, I was like, I just want to know, when we get to heaven, like, will there be spiders there? Because obviously, like, God's creatures are going to be there, and spiders are considered God's creatures. So I was trying to, like, kind of pitch it to God. Like, I literally practiced my pitch for the Lord, and I was like, listen, like, I know you don't make mistakes. That's great. Have you heard about this thing? I know I'm not Catholic. Have you heard of Catholicism, God? And have you heard of Catholicism, God? And have you heard of this concept called purgatory? Because here's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Purgatory for spiders.
Now, should the spiders have to suffer at all? No.
No, but they can, like, live in, like, a pocket realm of their own paradise.
What if spiders feel close to the humans that they share spaces with?
Well, that's the end of the episode, guys.
What we're learning is there's just too many factors.
And you know what? That's why we're not the masters of this universe.
That's the ultimate message of this episode.
It's a theology talk, but now you know where we stand.
No, I think that we ultimately do have a lot of escapism, and I think that that's very normal. And I think that it's fun to sort of explore where you would like to be and to examine your own life based off of that. Like, there's a lot of ones that you mentioned that were like you wanted to be that character and sort of alter the story in a way, or because you related to the character. And I think that that's very healthy. I think that when we get to, like, you and me begging for the world to change, it's like, maybe we should.
The healthiness is maybe self-reflecting and being like,
yes.
Oh, like, it's like a step forward. I think nowadays I'm more like, okay, how can I reflect this character or the elements of this world here where I am right now? Because clearly I can't go to Narnia. I can't go
I wish.
to Studio Ghibli. I can't, like, be chosen by hell.
Sometimes, have you ever, like, I've literally been like, what if I walk inside my apartment and, like, the equivalent of Bucky Barnes is in my living room?
I think about that with
they're like, they need your help.
They need my help. I've
literally had that thought.
I had that thought this morning. I had that thought of, what would I do? I did. I was like, what would I do if a wounded man from the Marvel universe showed up at my doorstep? Would I help him, or would I turn him over to the police?
Stare at the door like, what would happen?
What would happen? And honestly,
what if I was chosen?
I think I would help. I think, knowing me, I think I would help. Now, would I freak out every step of the way? Oh yeah, I would. But
I'm like, would there be an element of being like, am I being recorded?
Oh, right. I do tend to be like, is this a prank show? Is this Prank Patrol?
Yes, I feel like that would be my first reaction. And then I would be
I would help. But I would help anyway, because because the selfish part of me is not only like, I need to help because it's a good thing to do, but also I need to help because if I am on camera, what's that gonna say? If I don't help, you know?
Yeah, you need to step up. Honestly, live your life as though you are being recorded for a prank show.
Oh my gosh, wait.
Always be on your guard.
I forgot to say Vampire Diaries, but only specifically because I know that I would have the plot armor. I think the events in my own life right now in this world would make me a main, sadly.
Yes. Now, would you have Elena plot armor, or would you have, like,
I don't want Elena, but I also don't want Bonnie Bennett plot armor because then I would be used, but knowing how people of color are used in that show, that's just inevitable. So maybe not. Maybe that's why I didn't put it on there.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors there, because like also like you would actually be hurt.
I would be hurt, but then I would be killed
I know that
by
you
an
could be
accented
hurt in, like,
man. So
yeah, I know you could be hurt in like the like Defenders saga, but like why does it feel different?
It feels different. I don't know why or how, but yeah, those are the worlds that we'd like to escape to. I think it shows, like you said, that we like to escape into worlds where we feel some semblance of control, but also whimsy.
Yeah.
And taking ownership maybe of our narrative.
So what do you guys want to escape to?
Are there any worlds that you're like, that you are like, why would you even live there? Why would you... The Defenders.
Well, yeah, what are you thinking? But also, have you ever been like us where you've like wanted to bring a world to existence so badly that you would like... You
were doing unhinged things.
Do something like, yeah.
You were doing a little bit of unhinged activity.
Because like, dude.
Yeah.
We want to know.
There was one more world that I thought of just now. Oh my gosh, what was it? Oh, it was Harry Potter. I think when I was younger... I wanted it specifically in the 90s. No, not the 90s. I wanted it before the 90s. Maybe the early 2000s. I didn't want it during Voldemort's era, but I also really liked the vibes for Voldemort's era. Again, if you also have like a world that you're like, there are specific circumstances in which I would be like, yeah,
we're in control.
I want to live. You know? Just let us know, because I do want to know what worlds you want to live in.
I think a lot of people relate to Harry Potter, though, just because of the there's something about the feeling included with a certain magic system.
Yeah, that's so true, yeah.
Is enticing. Also, we love personality tests.
We who?
We the people of the United States of America. No, I'm kidding.
You, the millennial.
Okay, first of all, you have taken many a personality test. I don't want to hear it.
What?
I'm not letting that slip by.
What?
No, people love to sort of figure out what they would fit into. So, like, even though the houses are totally messy, it's like you want to know kind of what you are.
Yeah. I also
what you would be in that world.
Also just don't know if I would be able to exist in that world freely. I feel like she would call me like I wouldn't be allowed to be me, you know? Like,
it's a dangerous realm to be in.
I would be named like Penelope Penai or something. Like just something so
I'm deceased.
So strange and so specific to my ethnicity. Oh. There's just a lot.
That one may not be the most the most escapable realm.
Exactly. So just let us know where you guys would want to live, and we can make the arrangements for you.
Yeah, we'll set it up. Don't worry, we're in control now.
Yeah. We hope that you have a great week and that you're feeling okay. Take care of yourselves and see you next time. Oh,
if you didn't know that Shania Twain was Canadian, you're not alone. Okay, sound off in the comments, please. That you didn't know.
Okay, bye guys.